Good afternoon. Movies are about storytelling, and what I'd like to do is start out with a small story of my own and of how I came to be at this TEDx. I've always, wanted to attend TED. Um, in the US, made plans for Edinburgh, even made plans in Mumbai a couple of times, but never could make the time as something or the other used to come up. And I got a call from Anurag Srivastav a few weeks ago saying that he would like me to attend this TEDx in Delhi, and he was candid enough to say it's because Anurag Kashyap had cancelled out, and they were looking for somebody else to fill in. So that's how, with a combination of two Anurags, and courtesy Anurag Kashyap and Anurag Srivastav, I find myself at a TED, but on the wrong side of the microphone. I would have very much liked to attend as a member of the audience, but here I am, and that brings me to point number 2. I work in a company which I co-founded, and it is a company that is made up entirely of women. We have 24 managers, all of them women. My partner's, the managing director, and she and I are co-founders, and she keeps saying that if I wasn't a co-founder, I wouldn't have been able to get a job in the company. Now, the reason I recount this is because I'm very fond of saying that at my house, a woman is in charge, and at my office, a woman is in charge, and in my country, a woman is in charge. But more importantly, given that I don't manage to get a word in edgeways at home or in office, speaking at length for 18 minutes is really something that doesn't come naturally to me. Speaking for any length of time is actually a luxury. So my presentation is fairly concise. What I'll do is just take a few cues and use each cue to share with you an insight on the cultural impact that movies have. Starting with the fact that movies speak a universal language, and that is one of the reasons that movies really bind us in a world that is otherwise fragmented. The world is fragmented by geography, by geopolitics, by religion, by different points of view. There are many things that serve to divide, but the movies and perhaps the music business, and over the last 7 or 8 years, maybe social media, serve as glue that binds. But even within music, there is no concept of, or rather the concept of a blockbuster is getting more and more rare. All of us enjoy music in smaller pockets, and I'll come to that in a bit. But movies tend to speak a universal language, and the finest illustration of this is perhaps when Steven Spielberg said that when he sat down to write Jurassic Park, he didn't wonder if it would work in Russia, or it would work in China, or it would work in India. He just sat down and told a story about dinosaurs. In his own unique way, he told it from a child's point of view. And Jurassic Park became the first movie to cross $1 billion in revenue. It wasn't just from ticket sales, though. It was a combination of ticket sales and home video and merchandise. And it showed how a movie about dinosaurs actually cut across every demographic and every psychographic and every geography and appealed to people across different age groups and different geographies. A few years later, James Cameron made Titanic, and it was a movie about finding true love. It was about a couple who have the mixed fortune of finding true love on a sinking ship. And about 13 years after Titanic, he made a movie, Avatar, which was about good versus evil, and that was the first movie that crossed $2 billion in box office, only in box office. So the first insight is that the movies are about universal themes and they speak one language. The power of movies to bind us was demonstrated like no other in the wake of 9/11, when, which was perhaps the most devastating attacks in recent history. There were no global events. People had stopped traveling. The airline industry was completely soaked in red ink. The hotel business was completely in the boondocks. And 2 months after 9/11, the conversation slowly started to turn with two events. One was with the launch of a new Windows product, and the other was with the launch of the first Harry Potter movie. The Windows product actually suffered a crash during the launch, and Bill Gates said, I guess that brings us to the end of the presentation. But he went on to say that, Bill Gates went on to say that the reason the Harry Potter movie is significant is because it gives the world a conversation point beyond the 9/11 attacks, and it serves to send out a signal that the world is moving on and that we will not be cowed down by the attacks. So it brings us to the element of magic that the movies create, and this magic was demonstrated 2 years later by Spider-Man. And Time magazine summed it up beautifully, saying that what a movie like Spider-Man does, or what a movie like Harry Potter does, or what a movie like Jurassic Park does, is it creates for that weekend, and usually now we are looking at a shelf life of only 1 or 2 weekends. Between the last Spider-Man movie and the last Batman movie, there were about 2 weekends. So that really is the shelf life of a blockbuster movie. But during that weekend or those 2 weekends, a movie has the ability to get the entire world onto one page, talking about one thing. Time magazine said that we all yearn mass events, and nobody except the movie business has been able to crack the crack a mass product, a mass event that works on a global scale. So it is Hollywood, yes, which becomes the primary player. But if we move on now, I would give you a few examples within India. On Eid, when Ek Tha Tiger opened, it made more money than what Son of Sardar and Jab Tak Hai Jaan made on Diwali weekend in the same year. On one opening day, one movie making more money than 2 blockbusters put together on Diwali day. So 2 big weekends, and what they do is they bring the entire nation across multiplexes, across single screens, and unfortunately also across pirated DVDs, across social media, across online video. The power of movies to get people together and talking about one thing for that one weekend. In India, there is also a subtext we have of music. Every Indian movie is a musical, and this is something that when people come in from overseas, they say, why is it that every Indian movie is a musical? The fact is that in India, there is no real mass music scene beyond the Indian movie music. So we don't really have any non-movie music to speak of at a significant commercial level. And even within music, we have a very unique situation perhaps where there is only one music company, and music becomes the first promotion and the first trailer for a film. Film music is the biggest driver of television music shows. Every one of the three top GECs have a music-based show, if not more than that. And that music-based show is one of their top 3 or 5 blockbusters during the year. Music, a very significant change between the 90s and now is that people have started to watch music. So Asha Bhosle said famously that आजकल के बच्चे music देखते हैं. People have come up to her and said, we've seen this song rather than we've heard this song. This is largely due to the power of YouTube, where most videos debut, and it's not uncommon to have more than 1 million views for a certain song within a day of its launch on YouTube. The figure for India on a monthly basis is about 3 billion online views. So that's about 100 million views a day. Most of this is film-based content, and most of the film-based content is songs. So not uncommon to have more than 1 million views a day. And even on that million views, you have YouTube now planning to launch a music product, a music player. So there will be a YouTube music player, because by default it's become the place that the current generation goes to for music. Dance. One unique insight is that coming from music, the fact that we have within Indian movies, dances that go on to spin off dance shows, that go on to spin off dances at weddings. And 2 weeks ago, Madhuri Dixit, who is possibly one of our biggest dancing sensations, launched an online dance academy. The important insight here is that the first, it's a gamified dance academy, so you can actually learn dance from Madhuri and then upload a video of yourself. The first video that was uploaded on Madhuri Dixit's dance academy was from Iran, and the fan who uploaded the video said that it helped her to feel free in a country like Iran, that the act of uploading that video made her feel free. And it took me back to a conversation that a Russian author was having. He mentioned that there was that he'd heard a conversation between Khodorkovsky, the Russian billionaire who is now in prison, and a journalist. The journalist mentioned to Khodorkovsky that they both shared a birthday. During the icebreaker, he said, we both share a birthday, and I will never be as rich as you are. And Khodorkovsky said, that may be, but I will never be as free as you are. Coming as he was from Russia, where the political establishment was gunning for him. And this Russian author recounting the story says that he may be in prison today, but he is more free than most of the other oligarchs, because the other oligarchs are chained to the Kremlin hand and foot. So the fact that an Indian movie star launches an online academy and helps somebody somewhere in Iran to feel more free and liberated is really the power of movies and the reach of YouTube combined. Movies, especially in India, although even globally, inspire fashion in a big way. Okay? In India, you had Tommy Hilfiger launching in um, in 2003, but Tommy himself coming to India said that the unofficial launch for Tommy in India was when uh, Kuch Kuch Hota Hai was launched in 1996, and you had Tommy knockoffs available all over India. So he said Tommy Hilfiger was launched in India much before, I decided to make a business plan for the country. And then there is the entire issue of people living the movies. Um, the best example, uh, and this format really allows me to give you more concise examples. But in a microcosm, what Amir Khan has done with Rang De Basanti, okay, was he he did more than a movie. He started a movement, and he then went and joined the Narmada Bachao Andolan. And his next movie, Fana, was banned in Gujarat. So it was a case of life imitating art, imitating life. In one of his subsequent movies, Tare Zameen Par, he touched upon the entire issue of dyslexia, which was not something that was in the common lexicon, and he brought it into the lexicon. He didn't start out with either movie to send out a message. He started out with the objective of entertaining. And in the course of entertaining, he helped deliver a message. Walt Disney summed it up beautifully when he said that I would rather entertain somebody and hope that they learn rather than teach somebody and hope they are entertained. So to sum up, really, I would give you an example of Night Shyamalan, the India-born second-generation American director, Indian American, who was going into a mall, and a black security guard said to him, "You're Night Shyamalan, aren't you? You directed my favorite movie." And he said that an Indian American going into a mall in Philadelphia, being told by a black director that he liked my movie, he said, in that instant, it made me feel that the world is a smaller place. And that really is the power of movies. It brings me to my longest slide. I apologize for the length. And this is the best part about the movies, that the end is not really the end. There is sometimes, in many cases, a prospect of a sequel. Thank you. Thank you.